Most of the time, what we call a relationship is nothing more than an interaction between two mental images. You have a picture of me in your mind, shaped by past experiences, emotions, and assumptions. I have a picture of you created in the same way. And what happens? These two images interact, not you and me as we really are, but our projections of each other. A true relationship only exists when we see each other without these mental filters, when we look directly without being clouded by past wounds, expectations, or illusions. But our minds have a habit of forming images, don't they? And when relationships exist only between images, there is no real connection, only a mechanical exchange between ideas. To relate to someone fully, you have to drop these projections and be completely present. Forget who they were in the past. Forget how they once hurt you or made you happy. Only then can a real relationship emerge. For most of us, relationships come with dependence, whether financial, emotional, or both. And where there is dependence, there is fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of being alone. This fear breeds possessiveness, distrust, and frustration. Economic dependence can be managed with the right systems, but psychological dependence is trickier. It comes from our deep craving for security, pleasure, and self-fulfillment. When we attach ourselves to someone, we feel more alive, more complete. And because of that, we fear losing them. This fear makes us cling, manipulate, and seek control. So the question is, can we love without attachment? Can we be in relationships without fear, without the need to possess? If we constantly rely on people, society, or circumstances to make us feel happy, then we become prisoners of those things. We resist change, even though life itself is change. We know this intellectually, but emotionally, we still cling, caught between our need for stability and the ever-shifting nature of life. So can we end this struggle? We cannot live without relationships, yet we make them painful by filling them with attachment and possessiveness. But must love always come with ownership? The answer isn't found in escape, in ideals, or in belief systems. It comes from understanding, seeing clearly how dependence and possession create suffering. When we deeply understand the nature of attachment, we begin to see relationships differently. And when we transform the way we relate to each other, we also transform society, because society is nothing more than a reflection of our collective relationships. The world we live in wasn't created by nature. It was built by human relationships, passed down from generation to generation. We accept it as it is because it supports our greed, our possessiveness, and our illusions. But illusions can never bring true unity or peace. Even forced economic unity imposed by law cannot stop conflict. As long as we don't understand the nature of our relationships, we cannot build a peaceful world. If our connections with others are driven by possession, fear, and insecurity, then conflict is inevitable. True change doesn't come from external systems. It comes from within, from deeply understanding our own nature. When we begin to see how our own possessiveness, fear, and violence shape our relationships, we stop projecting these qualities onto the world. And in that understanding, real freedom begins. The root of conflict in relationships isn't the other person. It's our own desire for security, our fear of change, our need to control. We are so focused on how others behave, but do we ever truly observe ourselves? If we could understand, at the deepest level, why we react the way we do, why we feel pain, why we crave approval, then relationships would transform. Conflict isn't just about external struggles. It arises from the way we think and feel at every level. We can only live in harmony with others when we are in harmony within ourselves. And true understanding doesn't come from isolation, but from deep awareness of how our own mind operates. Life is relationship. Life is nothing but relationship between us and people, between us and things, between us and ideas. If we don't engage with life fully, if we bring illusions into our relationships, then conflict naturally follows. Relationships are a mirror. Relationships aren't just about other people. They are a mirror that reflects who we are. Without relationships, what are we? Simply an isolated idea floating in our own head? To exist is to relate. If we don't understand how to relate, then we don't truly exist in a meaningful way. And when relationships lack understanding, conflict arises, both within and around us. You don't find happiness in books, in philosophies, or in gurus. You find it by understanding yourself through relationships. Every interaction, every conversation is a mirror reflecting your own mind. Pay attention, not in a forced analytical way, but like looking into a mirror. Watch how you speak, how you react, how your thoughts shape your behavior. In that quiet observation, without judgment, you begin to uncover something beyond knowledge, something real, something alive. And that's where happiness begins. To have a real relationship, you must break the machine that constantly creates mental images of others. It's not enough to destroy one illusion, because the mind will simply create another. The real question is, can we stop this process entirely? Can we see clearly without filtering reality through memory and expectation? How do we create mental images of others? Through memory, through reactions, through past experiences. If someone flatters you, you form an image of them as kind. If someone hurts you, you create an image of them as cruel. Over time, these images solidify, and we mistake them for reality. But images are lifeless. They are not the living, breathing human beings in front of us. When we recognize that thought itself fuels this illusion machine, we begin to see things differently. But the answer is not to stop thinking, because thought is necessary for daily life. The key is to think without creating images. If you and I see each other only through the lens of opinions, how can we have a real relationship? True connection can only exist when we are free from mental images, when we meet each other not as projections, but as living beings in the present moment. Why do we get emotionally hurt? Because we have built an image of ourselves, an idea of who we think we are. When someone challenges this image, we feel wounded. But what if there were no image to defend? What if we saw ourselves clearly, without illusion? If you know you are dishonest and someone calls you a liar, do you feel hurt? No, because it is simply the truth. The pain only comes when we are attached to an idea of ourselves that we wish were true. To love is to relate without possession. To be free is to see without illusion. And to truly live is to embrace life without fear.